Okay, welcome to the kind of admin getting started with the Radiant Genesis mod. So I'm assuming you're an admin and you want to set up the mod in some way. Well, for this mod, there are no INI settings, thankfully. So the way we set up the mod in this case is we hold down R on PC. I think it's square on PlayStation and whatever the equivalent is on Xbox. And it brings up this radial menu, which should have kind of this configurations for any other mod you have. This one's my PvE mod. And we load up the Radiant Genesis menu. And you'll see you have a bunch of tabs here. Now, the first tab is the adjusting spawn limits one. So if you want to restrict how many of a certain dino can spawn, this is where you do it. In the case of the Crystal Kaiju, because it's meant to be a big world boss monster, we only limit it to 1 on the map at a time. Mechanized Drakes, we limit to 20. Elemental Wyverns, 20. And if you set these to 0, you can actually turn them off altogether. So we can actually hit track here on the Elemental Wyvern, and you'll see there's a couple spawned. Have any Mechanized Drakes spawned? Nope. And you'll see it only shows wild dinos. So if none have spawned yet, you're not going to see any. And given that we're in single player and I've only walked around this part of the map, that's why nothing is actually generated here, and some of these dinosaurs haven't spawned. So this is how we set the spawn limits. If you do change them, don't forget to hit the save button up here. If you want to test out any of the dinos, you can come straight into this dino spawn menu, and you can manually spawn any of them. So you set the level you'd like it to spawn at, and we hit spawn tamed in this case, and now we have a mechanized drake. Okay, so I've flown out to the middle of nowhere. If I hit, say, spawn wild on a stone drake, you'll see we can also spawn wild ones. Yeah. All right, so that is the quick spawn menu. Let's just get away from there. We don't need to be anywhere near any of that stuff. Next one is the give item menu. So this has various saddles from the mod. It has all of the portals. You can give yourself any of the items in any quantity. Just hit the quantity you want, hit add to inventory, and it will automatically be added to your inventory. From here, I'll skip portals. We'll come to that in a second. You have Dino Tracker settings. So you can disable use of the tracker entirely, stop players from touching it. You can change the tracking mode between single random dinosaurs, the closest wild dino, or all dinos. You can also set the range, and you can limit the amount of trackers that a tribe can actually have. Now, if we come back to the portal menu here, portals, they'll have their own separate video. You can find a link in the comments. But essentially, the portals here, toggling this one, restricts players from placing them and means only admins can, and they're all public, so everybody will see them in their dialing lists and can use them. You can also control the minimum distance between portals when placing them down. You can limit the number of portals that any given tribe has, and then you can adjust some of these settings, which are kind of obvious when you use the portals themselves. All right, finally, the last tab of the settings menu here is related to various dino variants within the mod. So at the moment, there's 2 types, and I intend to add more in the future. The 2 types are item generating dinos and elemental dinos. So the mod itself has an elemental wyvern, which is always elemental, but here this percentage says, okay, 10% of the dinos on the map can now spawn with an element. So you might get fire T-Rexes, you might get water Argies, things like that. And we can change that percentage. If you make it 0, you'll get no elemental dinos. And if you make it 100, they'll all be elemental. Similarly, the item generation here, if you have this buff on, say we have a 10% chance and an item generating mechanized drake spawns, then there will be some random time interval of which it will generate a random number of element. The Royal Phoenix will generate sulfur, and those intervals are set by these variables here. So the minimum time between generation is 2 minutes, and the longest time is, I don't know, like 20 minutes. And it can spawn anywhere between 0 and 5 of the items. Now up the top here, if you want to limit this, you have a few other tweaks you can make. So this one here means that only dinosaurs in this list can actually spawn items at all, regardless of whether or not they have the item generation buff. The second one, if you turn that off, then any dinosaur can become an item generation dino. And in that case, because they're not in this list and they don't have a fixed item, you'll want this one on here. And this one assigns a random item to those dinosaurs not in the list. So there's a big pool of items and you might get, I don't know, say a T-Rex that generates black pearls every 15 minutes or something like that. So have a play with these and see if it works for your server. Turn the buff off if you don't want item generating dinos at all. And then in the future patches, I'm going to give another tab up here so that you can add and control the random in this list here and have more granularity again. And that's really it. Just if you're going to change any of the admin settings, remember to hit save and apply all after making changes so that they save. And yeah, you don't need INIs. This should have full control of the mod. If I've missed anything, reach out to me on the Discord and I'll add the features. Thanks for watching.